It's a bad habit to go on searching for the best. You have to take what comes to you. For example, you see in the picture, a vulture cannot eat if it looks for good food. A dog cannot drink if it looks for clean water. An oyster cannot make pearl if it has to choose a raindrop. You cannot make progress if you keep searching for best options. So, keep working with what you have instead of searching for what you cannot get. It has been told earlier that there is nothing wrong if somebody wants to change the belief voluntarily. But what is wrong is criticizing other beliefs without knowing or practicing it for a considerable amount of time. If anybody wants to criticize other belief, his basic qualification is that he should first put full faith in the other belief, know thoroughly the true intention of that belief, and practice that belief with full sincerity for at least, say, let us say 3 years. Then only the criticism becomes credible enough for consideration. Otherwise, it is nothing more value than a dog barking in the street. Another factor is the claim that our belief is the number one. People who claim this number one status and play this number one game are so ignorant that they perish in this number one thinking all through their life without knowing that it does little help on their deathbed. At that time, they come face to face with the real number one, that is destiny. The real purpose of all this diversity is unity itself. Like the sea, which always exists with raindrops of with drops of water leaving it and some other drops of water uniting with it, God always exists with some souls going away from God, that is bonded souls, and some returning their liberated souls. This leads to thinking that I am not sure if I exist or not, but it is for sure that God exists in whatever name you call Him, in whatever form you see Him, and whatever traits you attribute to Him. Look at the great design capabilities of the Creator in the picture below. There are many eyes among the varied species of life, but all meant for vision with different capabilities. The eye of a vulture has distinct capabilities like precise distance vision. The eye of a cat can see more clearly in darkness. The eye of a fish can see in water. Like this, every life has its own unique feature of vision and it sees the outside world in its own vision capabilities. We do not know how this world appears for bats. For that matter, we cannot even imagine how this world appears for all other living species because we do not have a language for communication and interpretation. We only have the perception of how the world appears to us. This is not only true for vision but for all the senses available. The picture unity in diversity shows that vision is one but eyes are many. Sound is one, ears are many. Smell is one, noses are many. Taste is one, tongues are many. Touch is one, perceptions are many. Prana is one, bodies are many. And I have also added a quote: heart is one, feelings are many. Similarly, behavior and actions are many, but prana is one. Love and hate both are also an act of prana. Without prana, no love or hate is possible. A tiger may be very ferocious, but where the ferociousness is seen, it is in the eyes of the tiger. Projection of our feelings is in the face and it is predominantly seen in the eyes. A tiger that is blind is no more ferocious. The so called ferocious tiger is tamed completely by love for her cubs, and all the ferociousness is gone when she is playing with her cubs. The love pervades all living species. But then the same tiger who showers love on her cubs does not mind to kill the baby of a deer with all the ferociousness to feed its own children. That means here the love is selfish and attached with ego, even if it meant for survival. It is the love with bondage. The real sought after love, which can move the world, is unselfish love or the love which is unalloyed. When the heart is filled with such unalloyed love, you are in direct communion with God. Now we are moving to the next part of the poem called Mola Karanambu Yavadu, the meaning of which is who is the root cause of everything. The Big Bang and the subsequent universe formation is an effect in which we are part of it. We know pretty well that any effect must at least have one or more causes. What is the cause of this world and the happenings in this world? Why at all this world so exists? What is the purpose of this world? Why all these pleasures and pain? Why all the changes all the time? Why birth and death? Why all the dualities that exist in this world and universe? Why integration and disintegration on a continuous chain of events? What is the role of time in this universe? These are some of the very many questions raised, and they are very valid questions for which we have to find answers. Sometimes we wish others with sweet dreams. The wish is that what they wish to happen can be realized in their dream state. This is only to derive some satisfaction, though it is not a true happening. It is purely happening in your mind. It is nothing but a projection of one's own mind. When you are in the dream state, the dream is true. As long as we are in the dream, we hold on to it. The moment we are out of it, we come to know that it is after all a dream and not a reality, and all the happenings in the dream are far from truth. All the pleasures, sufferings, all that what we have seen and heard are all imaginary. All the crimes that has been committed and all the good deeds you have done are neither punishable nor rewarding once you are out of the dream state. So, in essence, the dream is true in your dream state, and the moment you transcend to wake up state, you laugh it off. Now, let us see the planes of our existence. We are all living in the plane of existence called wake up state. We strongly believe and take it for granted that this plane of existence is the real truthful state. Most of our lives we live in this state except in sleep, with exception to daydreamers. Little we realize that what applies to the dream state can also apply to this wake up state also, provided a still higher plane of existence is there. Shift in vibration levels cause different planes of existence. Great spiritual leaders of our ancient times have attained and taught the world about existence of superconsciousness state, which is a higher plane of existence devoid of all pleasures and sufferings. There are great souls who would transcend between wake up state and so called superconsciousness state, like we shuttle between dream state and wake up state. You see the diagram there, which explains the plane of existence. This diagram needs some explanation. We all know that a prism can separate white light into a spectrum. The triangle which you see is represented as a prism, and the prism is the mind. So, the mind separates supreme consciousness, ray of supreme consciousness, into different levels of consciousness, namely unconsciousness, subconsciousness, consciousness, and superconsciousness. So, unconsciousness is a low vibration level, and superconsciousness is a high vibration level, also called intense vibration level. So, also we see there in the diagram, when you go from lower vibration level to the higher vibration level, the degree of freedom becomes very high. In the degree of freedom in the horizontal scale, you see that degree of freedom on the left side, supreme consciousness, is high and comparatively to the degree of consciousness on the right side. The degree of consciousness on the left side is represents God, and the degree of consciousness on the right side represents human beings until they merge together. It is the rule of nature that unlimited becomes limited and goes back to unlimited. The unlimited and limited are separated by mind. We have already seen this earlier. Originally, what is supreme consciousness gets diffracted through the prism of mind and projected into categories consciousness, subconsciousness, unconsciousness, and superconsciousness. The first three are experienced by all the people. Subconsciousness plays a role in our dreams. Consciousness is our regular state while we are awake, and unconsciousness state is when we are in deep sleep or when we lose our consciousness due to extraneous reasons while sickness, etc. Superconsciousness is a state reached when we raise Kundalini energy or otherwise reach a blissful stage. It is a highly intensive state, and the level of vibration varies as shown in the above slide. At the stage of unconsciousness, the degree of freedom is very low, gradually increasing, and at the stage of superconsciousness, the degree of freedom is very high. Like we shuttle between subconsciousness, that is a dream stage, and consciousness stages, a yogi shuttles between consciousness and superconsciousness stages. Like we think that the dream is true as long as we are in the dream, and suddenly realize that it is after all a dream when we wake up. In the same way, a yogi realizes that only superconsciousness state is real and consciousness state is nothing but a maya or a projection. The picture shows stones does not have dreams. We have dreams, but we know that it is not real when we come out of dream. And the next is realistic stage. Even though we think it is real, that is also a dream created by Maya. And when you reach the liberated stage, all dreams are shattered. So, the power of Maya makes dream a reality. That is our wake up stage. We think it as a reality, but it is a dream. A yogi laughs at everything as he knows it is all play of Maya. Like we laugh it off our dreams when we wake up, the great souls laugh it off all the happenings in the wake up state and have declared it as Maya. So, the root cause of our misidentity is Maya, and there lies the real problem. Let us see what is this Maya. You see in the picture, individual mind on the left side representing man or human being, and on the right side God. There is also a barrier called Maya in between. You also see a small orifice which is there. The barrier of Maya is also represented as veil of Maya there. And you also see that good deeds open the orifice of the screen. Bad deeds close the orifice of the screen. For a liberated soul, the whole screen is shattered. What is this Maya? Maya is the one which is preventing us to know our true identity. We think we are this body even though we know that this body is perishable and not permanent. We think that the enjoyment of worldly pleasures is the purpose of life and that life is all about. Even though everyone is certain to die one day or other, we still ignore this fact and hang around the worldly pleasures due to power of Maya. Let us look at what is happening around with us, happening around us with our eyes open. We see day and night, 24 hours, and we see taking it for granted. Imagine we move to the moon and then we realize that it is totally different. One moon day is 28.5 Earth days. So, it is not the same and varies according to our position in the cosmos. The same thing is true with gravity also. We see moon diminishing and increasing in size, but is it happening really? We are seeing like that because of our planet position with respect to sun and moon. We see blue sky all around, but it is not true. These are all illusions which we see because of our position. You see the picture of illusion. Sun never sets, stars never twinkle, moon never diminishes, sky is not blue, and literally there is no eclipse, but we see it from earth as an eclipse. So, all this happens due to our position on earth. So, let us overcome illusion with true knowledge. What is a truth? That which will not change when there is a change in timeline. Time, there is a change in position, space, and change in thinking, that is causation. All that what we see, hear, or experience is not truth if it has to change. That way, great sages dared to say that this universe itself is not truth but the effect of Maya. The moment we close our eyes, this external world vanishes for us. The moment we close our ears, all external sounds vanish. Same thing happens to other senses also. It remains a truth as long as our identity continues with senses. Once the misidentification of our true nature is removed, the effect of Maya vanishes. Maya is like a veil between limited and unlimited, that is infinite. There cannot exist an infinity with a limited existing separately. If anything existed outside of infinity, then it is not called infinity. So, the limited exists within unlimited but only separated by a veil. Now, we have to remember that when we do good deeds through selflessness, the veil thins down or the orifice in the veil opens up. Thus, we prevail upon better light and our ignorance reduces. Same way, when we do bad deeds through selfishness, the veil thickens or the orifice closes, thus resulting in less light and more ignorance. When an individual is liberated, the veil completely vanishes and he merges with unlimited, losing his identity as limited. We see in the picture universal mind encompassing the individual mind through Maya called time, space, and causation. We have also seen that we are under the influence of time, space, and causation as long as we have misidentification, which is called power of Maya. The horizon of this Maya varies depending on the horizon of evolution in life. Human beings are able to think and grasp that they are under the influence of Maya or that there is some supernatural being, in whatever name you may call it, governing the entire universe. The lower you go on the evolution of consciousness, they are more and more ignorant and are confined to a smaller and smaller circle of Maya and farther from truth. Let us see what is the role of time, space, and causation in Maya. Let us see the time dimension first. You see in the picture there is a hour time frame and actual time frame. Let us concentrate on our time frame. Actually, we have split the time for the purpose of our convenience into various aspects. We have split into months: January, February, March, like that up to December. And we have also split into days of 24 hours: Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So we have also split the time into BC and AD. We have made a clock to read time to AM, PM, and then every hour, every minute, and every second. We have also made time full moon time and also no moon time. Extending this, when some thing happens good for people, they call it as good time, and when something bad has happened to them, then they call it as bad time. That way also the time is classified. Even though we have made all this into our convenience, in the reality, when we see, time has no bifurcations. Time is a continuous chain of activity without any bifurcations. In other words, I mean to say it is a continuous flow. So as given there, actual time frame has no classification, whereas our time frame is classified. We all pass through time every second. Still, it is very difficult to know what it is. Time never waits for anything or anyone and is unidirectional, that is, way forward. As such, the passage of time cannot be conceived without reference to something happening external or internal. Time is always associated with change. It is known that tracking of time started with movement of sun, and time tracking has come a long way with highly precise atomic clocks. Need of the hour also helped in this rapid development in accuracy of time measurement. For example, earlier I have said the earth revolved delayed by 1 second over 1 year. So, in order to measure that time accuracy of measurement of time accuracy, you need these atomic clocks. Further examples are space missions where time is very critical for a perfect launching. Even a second delay, it will make a space change of 1 mile or more, something like that. So, for the purpose of convenience, we have categorized time into various ways as shown above, which I have already explained. As such, there is no such thing in absolute terms, and time is a continuous flow. And we have defined various measures to quantify this continuous flow. Whenever something good happens to us, we call it as a good time, and whenever something bad happens to us, we call it as bad time, which I have already told you. In reality, there is no good time or bad time. It may be good time for some people, and for some others, the same may be bad time. Some species are active during the daytime, and some other species are active during night time. Time is considered to be a great medicine to cure both physical and mental ailments and is required for growth and decay. Time is an essential element in life. We know that money is ruling the world nowadays, but without time, money has no value, or for that matter, anything has no value without time. If we identify ourselves with this body, then we are bound by time. That means time controls the formation, growth, and disintegration of our body. Suppose we identify ourselves with soul. Soul is immaterial and is never born or never going to die. Since it is never born or never going to die and also never going to change, time has no control over it, and rather time becomes an entity within the timeline of the soul, that is a consciousness, and time cannot exist without consciousness. It is the consciousness first, and then only perception of time comes. In the same way, it is the exit of time first and then the consciousness. Time becomes bound by consciousness and not the other way. But due to effect of Maya, we find no time to think about all this, and we are carried away by this power of Maya by being busy all the time given to us by way of life with other things. Little we realize that we are losing a great opportunity given to us by way of human birth. The following slide narrates an incident wherein a person has been patiently waiting for a ship to arrive for several hours, and tired of waiting and anxiety, he slept in the room when the ship has really arrived, and he missed the ship ultimately. No doubt, it is a simple example given to illustrate something which is very relevant to all of us. Here is the picture where a person is missing the ship. I have added a caption there: everyone must work out his own salvation, and human life is a golden opportunity there. Now, let us be more aware that this human birth we have has not come as a lucky dip, but we toiled a lot to achieve this great boon. We had to pay a very heavy price by way of spiritual money. In other words, we call as punyam in Telugu. In order to get this most covetable mechanism of human body. It is a fact that this mechanism of raising the dormant Kundalini energy is the gateway for realizing the truth. But what is happening to us after taking this birth? We are immersed with things in this material world, and we think that is what we are born for. Many times we do not have time to think about the real purpose of our life. At times we remember the same when we are in difficulty, but that is short lived. That means we are sleeping over the purpose of our life. We have been aspiring all the time to get this human birth so that we can make spiritual progress, that is getting nearer to truth. But when it came, like the arrival of ship example what we have seen, we are sleeping unaware of the rare opportunity available. Every day when we wake up, that day is an opportunity for us to move in the right direction. The moment we gave up our body, that is after death, even if our mind craves to do any good thing, we cannot put it into action, as body is the mechanism which can perform karma. Without the action of the body, it is only an imagination which does not result in any effect. In this human birth, God has given us the intelligence to discriminate what is good and bad, which makes us unique in the ladder of life. It is highly unfortunate that the same is misused for selfish purposes, and instead of making spiritual progress, there is a tendency to make spiritual regression, that is moving away from truth, defeating the very purpose of aspiring for human birth. One thing is for certain, that everyone has to pay a price for all his misdeeds in the law of the land, and if not, he can never escape the divine court of karma, as all his deeds will have to be accounted for. So, it is imperative that we have to use our time in the opportunity given to us. You see the picture there, use your time. You see that various category of people using that time differently. Some people use their time, and some people just like that spend their time. We must also be conscious of the fact that time is a measure of our life. Now we are moving to another aspect of Maya, that is space dimension. Again we see our space frame and actual space frame in the picture. See, our space frame consists of a human being, and then the space occupied by a car, the space occupied by a city, and the space occupied by our earth, space occupied by the solar system, Milky Way, and the universe. This is how we categorize the space. Whereas if you take the fabric of space, actually there are no boundaries. We only limit it by the space we occupy or any material occupies. Now, further to see on the same, we see that anything and everything which is material has to exist in space. Space is nothing but the boundaries holding material, including the so called ether. Our body occupies certain amount of space. If we have to occupy less space than required, then it results in squeezing of the body to the extent it is flexible, and beyond that, it results in permanent deformation or injury to the body. In the same way, material also compresses or collapses when adequate space is not available. Material under dynamic condition, if they have to share part or total of the space available, it results in collision and subsequent damage or reorientation. So, we know how important is the space now. When we identify ourselves with this body, we exist in a very little space and are limited. Likewise, when we identify ourselves with our mind, we occupy more space as our mind can expand based on our thinking. When we identify ourselves with soul, soul being immaterial, it does not occupy any space, or other way of looking at is that it occupies all the space and is all pervading even beyond universe also. So the space is contained in the soul and not the other way. Now we are moving to the third dimension of Maya, which is causal dimension. Again, you see our causal dimension frame and actual causal dimension frame. Our causal dimension is affected by the following, that is what you see there: bound by passion, bound by duty, bound by deeds, bound by service, and bound by association. The You see the cause and diagram of deeds there, good deeds and bad deeds, and you see the passion represented by the picture there, and then next one is the responsibility bound by duty, then bound by deeds in the transmigration diagram, and bound by service, and bound by association. On the left side, if you see, actually there is no causal dimension as such. When you liberate from causation, actually everything is a dream, everything is happening, looks to be happening, but when you out of the dream, you see nothing has really happened. In the same way, causal dimension is not there. It is there as long as you are bound by Maya. So, you can overcome causal dimension through detached attachment. This is what the picture communicates. Now, we are in Karma Bhuvi, and in the process of living, we perform various karmas, that is, actions. Invariably, the actions we perform attract its own effects depending on the nature of the deed. If we perform a good deed, the effect in turn will return to be good for us, and if we perform a bad deed, the effect in turn will be obviously bad. This has spiritual relevance also. You see the representation of cause and effect, like good crops. The causes are soil fertility, care, quality of seeds, weather, etc. The effect of lung cancer due to heavy smoking and drinking. Poor performance due to lack of interest, lack of knowledge. Death due to illness, old age, accident. Liberation due to determination, love for God, or detachment. This is some representation of cause and effect. Now let us see what is detached attachment. Even in this life, we can reduce the effect of cause through detached attachment. Let us imagine a soldier in the war zone and he spots an enemy soldier. He fires the enemy soldier and kills him. Is it a good deed or a bad deed? He has killed another human being, while every human being has a right to live. Does it attract bad effect for his bad deed? The answer here is in the negative. The difference is that the person is performing the deed as a duty for his country and he has no personal enmity. He is unattached and performing an unselfish deed, hence, the effect does not touch him. Contrary to that, if the same soldier has enmity with a co-soldier and he uses this opportunity to kill him, he will be certainly reap bad effect in return, since he is very much attached with the deed. So, attachment also results in bondage, and bondage results in misery at the time of separation. Greater the bondage, it results in greater suffering. At the same time, it is very difficult to live without any sort of attachment unless you are an enlightened soul. Yogis have given a solution for the same as they practice the same in their life. The solution is called detached attachment. That means, like a coupling that can connect two bogies of a train, which can be coupled or uncoupled at will, we can also develop the habit of attaching only when it is required and to the extent it is required. If we develop excessive attachment like two plates joined by Fevicol, it is likely to result in great pain and irreparable damage, sometimes at the separation. After all, nobody is permanent in this world. You see in the picture of detached attachment, the left side, when you are attached, it results in pain, and when you are unattached, there is the no pain or reduced pain. See, for example, a love of a mother is attached, whereas the love of saint is unattached. Karma expecting returns is an attachment. Killing a person is an attachment. Parents beating children is an attachment. Milk and water are attached, whereas you perform karma without expecting returns is unattached. Soldier killing an enemy is an unattached act. Master beating his student is an unattached act. Oil and water are not attached, they can be separated. Well, these are a few examples. There has to be a cause for everything we see, both man-made and God-made. The birth of this universe also must have a cause. There must be a cause for all our sufferings also. In the absence of this universe, there would have been no life, and who will care about God and know His immense superiority in every aspect known and unknown to human beings? Maybe this is one of the cause for creating the universe, to demonstrate His presence and His grandeur.